With everything going on in the workplace, we're hearing, certainly in our industry, a lot about artificial intelligence and how is it going to impact our jobs. And I watch a lot of TED Talks and videos, and I watch Bloomberg Technology. And it's really amazing the things that are coming out. Like, not scary, amazing. Yet I get why people are scared. And somebody asked me just the other day, well, how's this going to affect your business? And I said, we build our own AI tools. We're building out an AI tool to build coaching plans. We have an AI tool that literally interviews people for career development, and then it toggles right into an open source tool that we built that builds out a 24 to 48 week coaching model for a leader to administer for someone's career development goals. Things are changing really fast. So, we can fight it, we can embrace it, but it is going to conjure up at its most fundamental level something that scares the crap out of people: change. So I was talking to someone who said, how's this going to affect your business? And I was telling him, I said, here's what we're doing. And I said, but it's going to conjure up something that really is going to put leaders in a precarious position. And she goes, what does that mean? I said, well, let me give you an example. How often does someone come to your door and say, you got a second? And what do? We say, sure. Because in our mind, we're going, it's just a second. It's really going to be about 19 to 22 minutes. And what happens? Start peeking at our phone. Well, this is a lot more than a second. And then that person leaves the office. Most leaders don't see this. See, I see this because I walk the halls of our client sites. Ugh, he never listens to me. She never gives me the time of day. They forget that they interrupted the boss. So sometimes, and I always talk about three very fundamental forms of coaching. We have spot coaching. I spot something. Situational coaching. A situation is presented to me. And then three, we have something called continuous coaching. Spot coaching is I see something that's wrong. Typically, we're triggered by what we see is wrong, and I got to go fix that. Situation coaching is someone comes to me and says, do you got a second? Or I've got a problem with one of my fellow teammates, and everybody doesn't like him either. How do you handle that? You're on. Can't hide. Coaching is in the door. It's in the house. What are you going to say? What are you going to do? And it's going to lead to a conversation I predicted a year ago that's starting to happen faster and faster. Is my job okay? Is AI going to replace parts of my job? You're on. You better situationally know what you're going to say. I'm not saying a script, but you better have a model of understanding. And I'll give you the greatest example. We were working with a newspaper who had this with somebody who's in an editorial business, newspaper. And an editor went to the editor in manager, editing chief, and said, is this chat GPT stuff and all this stuff going to change our jobs? No. Don't worry about it. 2 weeks later, they were learning new technology and they had a layoff. The manager was not lying in his heart, in his mind. He was not lying. Yet that employee walked away, laid off, scorning that manager. And here was the amazing thing. That person never, ever, ever trusted that organization again. Now, I don't know if that's fair or unfair. So when we're situationally challenged or asked, it is going to conjure up the need for better human-based coaching conversation skills. Let me coin it as conversational readiness. So I was at a great credit union, and School First Credit Union out in California, and they invited me as a speaker, and it was awesome because I've never seen a credit union or an L&D staff, for that matter, so immersed in coaching. It was awesome. Like, I've never experienced something like that. And I actually wasn't feeling well during the presentation. I got home and my wife goes, boy, you're in a good mood. I said, oh, I've never met such a group of people. I said, they were so immersed. They kept drilling me with questions, which anybody who knows me, I love. And somebody said something, and I've actually had this 3 times in my career. He said, Tim, I get the continuous coaching, but goes, what do you do when you have those situations? I said, like what? He goes, I had to have a conversation with someone years ago with body odor. I said, write down walk the pier. He said, what? I go, write down walk the pier. And I role played it with him. He goes, oh, that's really cool. I go, still an uncomfortable conversation, right? As leaders, we're put in really weird spots. We are situationally presented with things. AI is going to accelerate that times 12. I promise you, we will all hear in the next couple years when there are layoffs or job changes and job tool changes. It's like all they care about is technology. They don't care about people, and they're going to label their organization. Now, let me ask you a question. If you could do a job in 10 minutes versus 8 hours, which one would you choose? You would choose the 10 minutes. So I'm using tools right now that used to take me weeks that are now taking me under 3 to 4 minutes. I'd be dumb not to embrace that. Does that now scare me? Like, what is that going to conjure up? Absolutely. So there's a couple of things you have to think about. How do I embrace? How do I get to that embracing mindset? Number two, what do I need to learn? If you are not up on ChatGPT or tools like Claude or Perplexity, you are losing out on an opportunity. If you are not learning these tools and understanding what a language learning model is, and if you want to email me, I'll put my email address in here. We actually have a whole guide on terms and definitions as it relates to artificial intelligence and automation. Feel free to send me an email and I'd be happy to send it to you. Things are changing exponentially fast, which is going to cause the human being to have to embrace and change maybe faster than they've ever had to. See, the internet was a great revelation and a revolution. This is going to drive down beyond the organization to each and every individual. Let me give you one last thing. I just saw an AI tool, and my wife is a physician. Now, my wife says nothing will ever replace seeing the patient in person. She's probably right. She's probably right. I saw a tool, an online company that developed where you look into a webcam, it closes up, it does a close up on your face. It's a dermatology app. It looks at your skin ailment, identifies it, writes the prescription, and routes it to your nearest pharmacy. I saw it. And they're talking about a 90 to 95% accuracy. And someone might say, but it's not 100%. Either are doctors. And so it's really interesting, right? So let me ask you, are you embracing? Are you ready? Leaders, are you ready for those conversations? Do you have conversational readiness? Good luck.